Hi, I'm Stephen Vantassel. You're listening to Living the Wildlife, discussing all things related to vertebrate pest control as part of the Pest Geek podcast family. This is the disclaimer for Wildlife Control Consultant and Pest Geek podcast for Living the Wildlife podcast. Always follow national, state, provincial, and local laws when using pesticides and or other control methods to manage pests. Wildlife Control Consultant, LLC, Pest Geek Podcast, Living the Wildlife Podcast, Stephen M. Vantassel, or their or his affiliates are not responsible for followers' use of the information provided here. Hi everyone, Stephen Vantassel here, Wildlife Control Consultant, bringing you another episode of Living the Wildlife as part of the Pest Geek podcast family. Hey, glad to have you on board. I hope you had a great week. I'm recording today on Memorial Day. I do hope you took a few moments to remember those who have died for our country, as well as enjoyed your longer weekend if that's something that you were able to do. If you're wondering what this show is all about, well, the Living the Wildlife podcast is all about providing research-based technical information about all things related to wildlife control. That's with vertebrates, not with insects. So we do touch on insects occasionally and some diseases, but our focus ultimately is on vertebrate pest control. That is animals with a backbone from a rather technical perspective. So we do deep dives into things that the average podcast is not going to be dealing with. You can certainly, if you want to learn more about me, you can certainly visit my website here. I'm just scrolling through it here. You can see my store. These are some books that I've written, as well as I'm available for consultations. But I'd also love to hear from you if you would be interested in sending along some ideas for future shows. Perhaps there's something you want to deal with. Some of you will say, well, I'm not paying anyone to do a consultation with. Well, that's fine. But if you send ideas in, sometimes I will answer questions for free because I'll make it part of my show. You can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. That's wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Criticisms, comments, perhaps you'd like to be on the show. We're always looking for guests who have some angle or topic that they would like to discuss. You can definitely reach me again at that same email address, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Well, this week, I thought I would talk about something that's certainly not going to be fun or popular. That's one of the challenges when we're dealing with podcasts like this, is sometimes not everything we deal with here is going to be fun and sexy and make you a bunch of money. And this is going to be one of those weeks, just to kind of give you a heads up on that. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this new requirement on small business, and I'm scrolling here to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, and you can visit this particular website. The website is FinCEN, that's FINCEN.gov. So that's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and we have a new reporting requirement for everyone who has a small business or even a large business, but they want to definitely find out about you. And so we're going to talk. So here's the home page. You're going to come to this particular web page, and then you're going to see some links down here in the middle, and one of them is called, over in the left-hand side, at least the date that I'm recording this, and that's Memorial Day 2024, Beneficial Ownership Information. Here's how you would learn about the reporting requirements. Now, according to the federal government, everyone who has a financial interest in a particular company has to register with the federal government. So these are your tax dollars at work, of course, wanting to make sure they know that you exist, and this is part of their plan to reduce tax fraud and among other things. So welcome to the joys of being self-employed. So you're going to click this particular link, and it's going to bring you here to this particular page, beneficial ownership information, and it's going to tell you how you file, do you qualify to exempt for yourself for an exemption, and how do you get a FinCEN ID, because it appears that this is something we're going to have to file, if not every year, then every time we change addresses or change ownership, then we're going to need to refile. So getting your own FinCEN ID, I guess, is going to be a way to try to simplify that revision process. At least that's what I hope. I've just filled mine out about a week ago, and thankfully it wasn't too painful, but again, it's taking time out of your day, when time is money if you don't realize that, and of course it's just one more thing you have to keep track of. And so I don't think some of this information has gotten out into the wildlife control field. I haven't seen any chatter on Facebook or anything like that. So definitely I thought I would make you aware of this to make sure that you are being compliant, because I guess there's some severe penalties if you don't comply with this. So what do you have to do? Well, as you come to this particular page, you have a little bit of information here about what's it all about, news updates, resources, and that sort of thing. And then you would have how to file. And you have two different ways you can file for this. Let me click this here. I think it'll bring me, So you have how to file your BOIR. That's BOIR. That's the beneficial ownership interest reporting requirement. So beneficial ownership information report, the BOIR, BOIR report. And you would click this over here, and then you have two different ways to file this report. So you have the online version, and you have the PDF version, and you have your choice of which one you want to do. Well, I've already filed mine, so let's kind of look at the PDF, because it will go through some of the questions that you're going to have to answer to fill out this particular report. And just a reminder again, for those of you how to get to this particular area, you need to go to FinCEN, FINCEN.gov, FinCEN, and you're going to file a beneficial ownership information report, a BOIR, and this is something you have to fill out. So you're going to come over here, and you have two options again. You have a PDF version option that you can do, and you have the online version you can do. So let's kind of click this here, the prepare our BOIR. Notice how I get my PDF downloaded to my computer, and I'm going to open this particular document up. Well, I know I have Acrobat, so I don't know why it's giving me a little hard time here, so bear with me as I try to pull this up. Sometimes Acrobat can be a little fussy for me. So here's our BOIR report. All right, here we go. And so you can see how there are different fields that you need to fill out. So let me zoom in here, so those of you that are following along on it, don't do this while you're driving, to be sure, right? Because you have to look at some things. So they have some instructions, and then you have a validation key. That's probably what I should have done before, because I originally tried to file a PDF and it hung up, and I think it's because I missed something. And so when I went online, going online, it won't let you submit until all the information is provided. And so you're going to come down here. Notice it's going to give you the type of filing. So I filled out an initial report because that was the first time I've ever done it. If you've done this before, then you kind of need to either update your prior report or correct it, or you're a newly exempt entity. You'll have to talk that out with your accountant or whatever, or perhaps read the instructions. My suspicion is most of you are going to be filing as an initial report, just like I was. And so you're just going to check the initial report box. And then you're going to come down and you are going to decide whether you want a FinCEN identifier. I applied for a FinCEN identifier. I'm planning on staying in business for a while. I doubt that most of you are a foreign pooled investment vehicle, so I would not check that. And so here you have your legal company name, of course, your tax identification type. Those of you that may have your own federal identification number, you would need to put that in here. And so for me, I was putting in an EIN or an IT. You have your social security number or an ITN. I think I filed it in with an EIN, and then you type in your number here, what country you're from. Most of you are going to be the U.S., of course, and then your state of formation, that is where your company is. It's at least how I interpreted it. And then whether you're a foreign company working in the United States, your current address, you're going to fill all that in. And then you're going to, if you are a reporting company that was created or registered before January 1st, well, my company has been around longer, so I checked yes. It's kind of stressful because, you have to make sure you're not lying, of course. You don't want to lie in this type of a document. When you're lying to the federal government, they get really wired up. They can lie to you, but you can't lie to them. All right, so always keep that in mind when you're dealing with the federal government. Then you have, of course, who's in charge of the company, and that, of course, would be, probably your name if you're the owner. If you're not the owner, then you would be filling out on the behalf of the owner, I would assume, and then date of birth, your current address, and whether this is a business or residential address. And then you're going to be filing a form of identification. Now, this is what you're going to use. I used my license number for the state. And then you're going to need to take a scan of that. So you have some options here. So you can either use a state-issued driver's license, a U.S. passport, or for those of you who are non-U.S. citizens who are working in the United States running a business, you can use your foreign passport as a form of identification. This is so that the government knows that you are who you say you are, or at least one of the ways you call yourself, right? So I'm trying to be a little humorous here. And you're going to continue to file this out, and you're going to scan that image, and you're going to attach that to the file, and then you're going to ultimately upload that to the file. This is where I had a little bit of trouble with the PDF because I kept wanting to see it attached to the PDF, and when I looked for it in the PDF, it didn't seem to attach. So I don't know if that's a bug either on my end or if it was a bug on the federal government end. I don't know, but I ultimately had to go online and do it through the online program rather than using the PDF. The advantage of going through the PDF is at least it gets all your information there for you before you go online. You want to have all your ducks in a row, so make sure you scan your state driver's license, or if you scan your U.S. passport or your foreign passport, depending on your situation, and have that file available because you're going to need to upload that to prove you are who you say you are. Okay, and then you're going to come down and you're kind of going to repeat a lot of this information because I'm sure most of you as business owners are going to be filing yourself. So you're going to need to kind of repeat all this again, which is kind of weird. But I'm assuming they must be talking about who's submitting the information and then who is the owner of the company. Maybe that's why they did that. Don't know for sure. And then, of course, you have about 51 questions, and then you're going to, of course, attach that document that you scanned, and then it's going to ask you some information to verify that you are telling the truth, and then it's going to give you the opportunity, if you're going on the online version, the web version, it will give you the opportunity to download that document and save it. I'm going to strongly encourage you, if you're doing the online version, download that document because you're going to need to keep that for your records. And then you're going to submit it. If you've got all the columns, all the entries filled in, it will accept it, give you a sort of acknowledgement. It's going to give you a code number saying you've submitted. And then all we do is, I guess, wait from then on in. But at least you have documentation that you filled out this report, and therefore you're not going to be in violation of non-compliance here. So you have to have this filled in, as I understand it, before the end of the year. I would probably suggest you don't wait too long to fill this out. You probably don't want to wait to December. Things happen online, and you probably don't want to mess that up. So just a reminder, again, this is the Beneficial Ownership Information Report, and these are some things you have to fill out. This document's not going to take you very long, probably take you 20 minutes or so, and then you're going to need to do this because it's a requirement from the federal government they're trying to reduce financial crimes. Okay, so let me go back to that particular web page again. So let me go back to the beginning and kind of walk you through. So here we are on the home. Whoops, not quite on the home page yet. There we are. Here we are on the home page. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. That's FinCEN, FINCEN.gov. And then you're going to scroll down this page. You're going to click the BOI, that's the Beneficial Ownership Information. And then you're going to scroll down again, and then you're going to hit the File Report. And then you're going to hit the File the BOIR. And then you're going to decide whether you want to submit it with a PDF or whether you want to do the online version. It's the same thing. They're asking the same questions. Just one you're doing it with a PDF and one you're doing it online. It's your choice. And then that's it. Make sure you save whatever documentation is going to give you a confirmation number that you've submitted. And you're going to make sure you need to save that number. That's going to be how the government's going to track you. And if something gets quote-unquote lost, that's going to be your verification that, yeah, you submitted this information. So put that in a safe place. I'd probably put it with your tax information that you're submitting and make sure that you're doing all that. Yeah, the joy of small business. This is where we're going. The government, as you well know, is broke because Americans love government spending, but we don't like to pay for it, right? So that's kind of how we roll as Americans. So this is where the government is going to use this information and try to track down people who are cheating on their taxes because they need to extract more revenue from the citizens. That's enough political commentary. I'm sure that some of you may have your own opinions on that. But nevertheless, this is not something you want to screw around with. You want to try to get this done because it is a requirement for those of us, yes, even in small businesses like mine, right? And your business is probably bigger than mine, especially those of you guys who are full-time. Definitely you're bigger than I am. You've got to fill this out too, so make sure you don't delay on doing this. Well, I told you it would not be a happy time, to be sure. So, unfortunately, this is part of the reason why regulation paperwork is a hassle for small business. This is another form of a tax on you because now it's another document you have to fill out and keep track of. But nevertheless, it is what it is, and we're going to have to deal with it. So you've been listening to Living the Wildlife podcast. I'm Stephen Vantassel, your host. Thank you for coming along. Do take a few moments, if you would, to subscribe to the channel. If you like what you heard, definitely give us a thumbs up. Ring the bell, of course. We'd like to be sure to give you opportunities to see new podcasts that come out. Would love to hear from you. You can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. Yes, even criticisms. If you have suggestions for new shows, definitely reach out. And of course, do join us on the Pest Geek podcast on Facebook. We'd love to have you there in the chat, talk about your triumphs and trials as we share information together. So thanks for listening. And again, this is Living the Wildlife. Why do we call it Living the Wildlife? Well, because we want you to live the wildlife, not be the wildlife. Take care, everyone.